welcome back. Thanks for watching us. Now, it's estimated 700,000 people in the UK have autism, a developmental disability that affects how people perceive the world and interact with others.
There's a new documentary called Are You Autistic, which examines the myths surrounding the condition and explores the possibility that thousands more may be living with autism without realising. We'll speak to three women from the documentary who joined us in the studio this morning.
Morning,
Good morning to you all in a moment, but first let's have a little look at a clip from the documentary.
Well, that was Jo. We're joined now by presenters Sam Ahern and Georgia Harper. Morning both, as well as Jo Hoskin, who you see took part in the documentary. We'll come to you in a minute, Jo. Just talk to us, both of you, first of all. You were both diagnosed with autism, weren't you, when you were about 9?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the diagnosis and how it affects you.
I mean, it's a big question. How long have you got? I think, so autism for me, it means that I guess perceive the world differently, process information differently. So things like loud noises, big crowds, textures can be an overwhelming wave of sensory information that can lead to shutdowns and meltdowns. But at the same time, it means that, you know, I really enjoy the umpteenth repetition of a song in the same way that nobody else would. So it affects, you know, language, things like sarcasm and metaphor. There's a lot, you know, it's quite complex, and obviously every autistic person is different, just as every non-autistic person is different.
I suppose we do tend to generalise, so don't we? When we tend to speak about boys, and we tend to speak about autism in children, and this is, I suppose, trying to break that mould a little, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of this documentary in a way, is that the majority of the people who are involved in it are female. And actually that's one of the reasons why this documentary is so important, because of the way that actually there are so many undiagnosed females and males who have just been completely lost. And that's why we've got Jo and JP, who are the two people who we kind of go on a journey with, and we see how they react to their diagnosis, but also we see how other people react to actually thinking, well, I'm not just this particular thing, these behaviours that I've got actually mean something, and that's why this documentary is so important.
Jo, so just explain to us, you have a son who's autistic,
Yes.
and you took a test, didn't you, and what happened?
So when I found out that my son had autism, I didn't know much about it. I looked into the symptoms and the traits, and I recognised a lot of them in myself. And then I took the autism quotient test, and I scored much higher for myself than I realised.
Right.
And then I started asking questions. Maybe I should get this investigated.
And did anybody at any point in your life, because you say in the documentary about how you feel awkward in social situations, that it affects you in certain ways, nobody had ever said,
No.
have you thought about this? They suggested depression and anxiety.
Yeah,
and
so when I was about 20, I was diagnosed with depression. I wasn't 100% sure that fitted what I was feeling, but I just went with it. Postnatal depression after I had my son, and anxiety in recent years. And I never felt that any of the treatments were really the answer. No one ever suggested autism. And I guess it's because I don't present in a way that you would expect. You know, I'm married, I've got 3 children, a job, that kind of thing, and I think, it's just breaking down barriers, really.
And how has that, knowing that there's sort of an explanation to some of the things that have been going on, how's that helped?
Oh, it's been such a relief. I mean, you'll see in the documentary just how I feel when I'm told the truth, really.
Yeah.
It's just like living your life and not knowing who you are, and then finally getting an answer and thinking, oh, that's okay. And since the diagnosis, I've just been able to be much more comfortable in myself, much more relaxed. I'm kinder to myself. I know when my limits are approaching. It's just been a really positive experience.
Do you think, I mean, maybe this documentary might help in this, do you think there's a change in the way that other people who aren't autistic see autism, rather than, you know, that sort of ignorant, oh, can you count cards and all that sort of stuff, which went along with, you know, the Rain Man. Yeah, exactly.
I think, you know, we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And I think people do still see autism as this one thing, or as kind of almost as like a binary stereotype. You have this kind of high-functioning genius where all your difficulties are ignored, or kind of low-functioning, not seen as being able to do anything, and all their abilities are ignored. And, you know, autistic people are everything in between that. And, you know, it's not one person, it's not a binary. And I think, hopefully, this documentary, by showing so many of us autistic people, and especially women who are, as Sam was saying, so often overlooked, You know, I think if we can help one person to actually see themselves represented and get the kind of the self-understanding that I think some of us take for granted, then we'll have done our job.
And Sam, there's one thing, isn't there, about self-understanding, which obviously you found hugely helpful. It's also about helping other people as well who are around understand too, presumably.
Absolutely. I think as well, in terms of autism, it's kind of, people have the awareness of it, but I don't think they have the understanding. And that's why I think so many people go missed in terms of not being diagnosed or under the radar, because with females especially, we social mask. So that means we will hide our traits and we will act as though we are essentially normal people, which means we are neurotypical, which also means that we are acting as though we're not autistic. So with that, hence why so many females kind of go under the radar, because we cover our traits, and that's a huge, I suppose that's a huge barrier in that respect, because there's just then, you know, that has complications and more difficulties along the way. And that's why this documentary is obviously so important, because now we are finding out there's a huge diagnostic crisis in the UK, which actually thinks, you sort of think, well, why is that? Why are they being missed?
It's excellent talking to you. Thank you very much indeed for coming.
Thank you, so honest and open about it as well.
Thank you.
And thank you very much as well. It's lovely to see you.
If you want to know more, you can. It's well worth your time. Are You Autistic? Tonight, Channel 4 from 10 o'clock.
That's all from breakfast today. Charlie and Naga will be here from 6 tomorrow morning.
From all of us, have a great day. See you soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.